This is MJ, I love Tokusatsu, and right now I want to talk about Kamen Rider 01, episode 39. I'll mention it one more time. I'm doing my quick catch-up of all of 01, because I took time off, and there was the COVID stuff too that stopped the show from recording, but now I'm back to reviewing. And so I just finished episode 39. I actually don't have that much to say about this. This is more of a transitional episode, and I don't know that it's going to be worth my time to really go into it too much. So I'll want to talk about the things that I liked. First of all, I'll go into the credit type thing. So this was originally aired on July 19, 2020, and the writer was head writer of the show, Yuya Takahashi, who's also the head writer of X-Aid, and the director was Ryosuke Sakuno, who was the director last episode. I don't think I noticed too many similarities or quirks in or I should say signatures in the recording, or in the directing rather, that would tell me that these two episodes were the same, other than Sakuno was able to make the dog Thouser adorable little robo dog that I really dug. So I don't know what else to say about that. Let me get back to, look at that. If you're looking at the screen, if you have a screen option available, look at that. It's adorable. Anyway, moving on from there. The episode was called An Unexpected Outcome, and at least that's the way, who's this, Overtime translated it. And yeah, it was an unexpected outcome. I like that they went in this direction. It's pretty neat. So at this point, Arc has basically won. No, I'm not reviewing. I'm not reviewing or recapping. That's not what I'm here for. I thought this episode was interesting in that it did a couple things. One is it kind of carried forth that kingship idea that I had talked about, that I mentioned in the previous analysis, and Aruto like stepping into his role as a king, and like he is kind of on this fool's journey, or this hero's journey, where he said, hey, for too long, and this was a complaint of mine early on in the show, for too long I have used the company of my grandfather. Hey, I can identify with that. I've used the power of my grandfather. I used the tools and the assets created by my grandfather and given to me by other people in order to do this stuff, to fight this battle. And we learned kind of something interesting, which I'll just bring in, even though it is slightly synopsisizing, which is that the 01 driver was only ever created to defeat Metsuba Jinrai. There was no anticipation of Arc becoming a Kamen Rider, and therefore the Arc is overspec'd basically, so that no matter what 01 does, it does not have the power to defeat him, even with Metal Cluster Hopper, etc., etc. So in order to, and we see the defeat of 01 in this episode by Arc, and in order to do something, in order to defeat Arc, he's going to have to go forward. He's going to have to go into this uncharted territory. He's going to have to ascend to this higher level, this place that he maybe didn't even know was possible to get to. So that's really interesting, because I'm thinking about Luke in the cave and Dagobah. I can't really think of any other classic stories right now that pull on, or that use the hero's journey, that I can point to a specific thing. But like he's come up against this great thing that he cannot defeat, and he has to find another way. And we see that Izu tells Thouser, or yeah, I guess she tells. It's him, not Fuo, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think she tells Amatsu Gai that he's pushing himself to a place that he's never pushed himself before. He's expanding, he's growing, he is going beyond who he was before. He's pushing past his limitations, which is kind of what that whole thing is all about. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm just pointing out how good and how effective it is. And honestly, like I said, I had criticized him early on, and I got some flack from people as I was, reviewing, and they were like, oh, you can't, like, quit complaining about it, and what are you complaining about? He says it himself in the show, here, in this episode. And I feel now like that was all part of the plan, maybe. I don't know, or maybe it's just crafty writing on Takahashi's part after he realized that he did kind of a bad job. Or maybe he's being forced by Bandai to push so many toys into the show and so many forms into the show that they just had to be thrown in. Or maybe as part of his frustration, like how in Fai's, Takumi gets an upgrade thrown at him, like from off screen. And I don't even know if you see who throws it at him, but it gets there, boom, thrown, and then he uses it. Or like in Kiva, how, and it's the same writer for Kiva and Fai's, if I remember correctly. The guy who everybody says is like a misogynist, but I don't believe he actually is. He's just a good writer. Don't take that out of context. Anyway, in Kiva, he uses this one upgrade one time and then never, or not even an upgrade, it's like a weapon type thing. Him and Kiva and Ixa both use a weapon one time, I think because they wanted to sell toys, and the writer was just like, fine, here you go. Here it is. Anyway, I will continue. I really like the development that Aruto is going to push himself beyond, and then he was by choice doing that because he realized that was the only, sort of by choice. He fought with the weapons that he had at his disposal, which was 01, or the 01 driver, and then he pushes himself to develop it. I don't want to speculate because that's dumb, because the episode's already out, and you're marathoning it potentially in the future, and I'm marathoning it right now, so it doesn't make sense to speculate, but I thought that all that stuff was pleasing. Another thing that I really thought was good was the pushing. There was a statement reiterated. It was said, I think, once by Aruto. In fact, he yelled at Amatsu Gai and got him to give a more sincere expression of apology, or more profound expression of apology. But beyond that, we had Yaiba reject Amatsu Gai's apology and say it's not enough to say you're sorry. She intimated that you have to prove that you're sorry, or one has to. And then Fua said, hey, I've got a concrete thing you can do to show that you're really serious, that you're truly apologetic. Do this. Separate Ames from Zaya. And basically, to me, it was hinting at, and give Yaiba command of Ames, which she should have. And she was the head of Ames, appointed there by Zaya because cronyism and whatnot, and his plot to control things and whatever. But I don't know. Is this? I feel like this is too soft of a redemption for Amatsu Gai, because basically when he and Aruto were fighting against Arc, Aruto said, like, yeah, this is what the president of a company is supposed to do, right, Guy? You're supposed to defend the company and be good. So it kind of undermines that statement there, to me. Kind of undermines the statement last episode, which is, if you're not a good president, if you're not respecting the people and actually looking out for the good of your employees, then you're not really worthy of being their employer, and your abuses of power exemplify that. They have been caught, so we can now, as employees, overthrow you and reject you as our president because of how wrongly you've treated us, and you don't deserve it anyway because of that. So it's interesting. This episode, he's not really involved in taking any direct action. He makes some comments. He asks some things. He finds out a little bit of information, and he tries to, this is Amatsu Gai I'm talking about, of course, he tries to be helpful and give input, but he's mostly taken a back seat to things. So I don't know. Is he going to be the guy in control of Hiden intelligence? He could be, but then again, the vice president could take up instead that position of leadership, which I think he should do, especially with, he was kind of a weenie before, and I'm using that in a kid-friendly term. So he was kind of he was kind of a jerk before, and a selfish dude, but he's shown himself to be one more serious and less of a comedic role. So stepping into that dramatic role. So good on the actor for pulling that off, both aspects of that character and how they were directed in the show. But also he has shown the proper intention and the proper mindset for being the guy in charge. And I guess his earlier, my assessment now of him in the beginning of the show, where he was so upset about Hiden or Aruto taking over, is that he cared about the company and he wanted it to continue as it should. And he wasn't evil. He seemed kind of scheming, but I think it was more he was just so frustrated. Man, I was here. I was, Kornowski's right-hand man or whatever. Whether or not he was, I don't know for a fact. But he, put in the work, and then this kid comes along who doesn't know anything about the business, who doesn't know anything about taking care of these things, and he's just going to step in and have this role thrust into his, into his hands. And he was more concerned, that's how I'm reading it now, he's more concerned about him being able to take over and actually lead like a man should. So yeah, I don't know, that was really interesting. So I like how they didn't let him off too softly, Amatsu Gai, but it'll be interesting to see how it bears out. How forgiven, how redeemed is he going to be, and is it enough? I like the build redemption arc for a certain villainous character, because it made sense. It mostly made sense, and it was mostly pleasing to watch, and I felt like there was time for penance to be done, and we haven't really gotten that in this. So Build was a really, really well constructed show. That's my joke pun, but that's actually true. So I don't know. We'll see if this show is able to pull it off, and I think this is going better than X8 so far, even though there was the whole pandemic stoppage for a little while and kind of screwing up the pacing of the show itself. I don't really have much else to say. I really love Izu and Aruto like syncing and linking together to connect him to the satellite Zay, and the image that they use for that, the split screen on their faces, super cool. But yeah, that's gonna bring my analysis of this episode to a close. It was a good episode. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10, 7.5 maybe. It feels like a lot of setup for what's coming next, and I think it's really neat that Aruto is drawing all those characters. The fact that he's in a manga, I wonder if he's drawn any characters on his own, because he was making his own Kamen Rider suit. So cool, so badass that Arc would never be able to predict it, which is a funny idea. Kind of reminds me of Takato from Digimon Tamers, or whatever it's called. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So till next time, folks. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, and share to help me grow. Don't forget to subscribe to keep current with each release. Chat with me on Twitter at MJ_scribe. Visit mjmunoz.com/podcast to find the multiple feeds in which I analyze Star Wars, tokusatsu, comics, and more. Visit mjmunoz.com/support for links to my Redbubble and Coffee pages, so you can help keep me doing the things I do. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Until next time, be well, and remember, you don't have to shout henshin to be a hero.